Misha, and let's start with, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm just a woman who got really sick, got a lot when the medical profession couldn't help me. And it's not that they didn't try. Look, they tried. I had so many symptoms. Most all of these up here were part of my life. And we cycled through medications. I was on 13 different medications. My health was failing. We were trying, but it wasn't getting anywhere until I found a more natural solution and this thing called insulin resistance, which explained what was happening with me when nothing else could. So I'm here to talk about it because I want other people to understand that if you're struggling with your health and you're not getting anywhere, you might want to shift focus and you might want to start looking at this thing called insulin resistance. So we're going to go over this morning, we're going to go over what insulin resistance is. Yesterday, I went over heart disease and hypertension, but everybody wanted to go over, or the majority of people wanted to go over our liver today. Tagged on the gallbladder because, look, the gallbladder is the sidekick to the liver. So we're going to talk about the liver today, insulin resistance, what's happening with it, what the liver does, all of that stuff, so you can understand better how it's affecting all of your health. So hopefully you can find a way to get better. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to say, yes, I do a system that helped me with mine, but I'm also here giving you a whole lot of education. I'm giving you a number of ways that you can do it on your own if you choose. But if you want to find a more natural route, hang out because we're going to talk about that too. Okay, so now that I'm done with all of that, I would love to know where everybody's coming in from and welcome in everybody who just jumped in. We're going to get into it right now. I always like to ask this question. Number one, where's everybody from? If you'd love to type that in, I would love to know. And I'm in Maryland, USA. And then I would also like to ask if everyone understands insulin resistance. If you are unclear what this whole thing about insulin resistance is, I can give you a really brief summary. So type in a 1 if you need me to tell you what insulin resistance is so we can move on and start in with how it's relating to your liver and all of this stuff up here. Hi from Connecticut, Mike. How are you doing this morning? Thank you for participating. I love it. So you guys, if you need to know what insulin resistance is, am I all for keto and carnivore? But let's talk about that. So I do what I call a ketoistic diet. I try to keep my carbohydrate count lower. So like yesterday, I did a video last night. I think I got in about 90 grams of carbohydrates yesterday. A big part of that carbohydrate that I took in was because I had this big serving of spinach. But I do focus on proteins and fats in my diet. So my diet goes like this: fiber first, prioritize protein, fill up with healthy fats. Fats in the liver, fats in the heart, and what's really happening there. Um, so I am not all about like extreme carnivore. I'm not extreme either way, you guys. What I want is for us to be more manageable, middle of the road. Like if you choose to go carnivore, if you choose to go vegan, great, but that's just not for everybody. What I want to do is help the rest of us understand how we can have a healthier life and live without all this disorder. So thanks, Lizzie. Yeah, so I try not to have like a ton of carbohydrates in a day, but look, I'm human. On days that are emotional, I have ADD and I have impulse control problems. And do I have carbohydrates on days than more than I would like? Yes, I do. So you reversed your type 2 diabetes and lost 122 pounds, pretty much doing keto and carnivore mixture. So I'm not as strict with that. And we're going to talk about fiber and some other components that are going to help with this whole thing. I was listening to Dr. Bickman this morning talk about how our body needs glucose. We're going to have glucose and fructose and liver and all of that. But before I dive in, let's just break down insulin resistance super quick for everybody who doesn't know, okay, or is unclear. We have hormones coursing throughout our body. One thing I want everybody to understand before I get later on is hormones are proteins. So when I say I prioritize protein, there's a reason for that more than just the muscle cells, okay? But insulin is a hormone, and it's a hormone. One of its jobs is to transport glucose or sugars into the body for use as energy. That's what our body uses glucose for, is energy. I was cold and now I'm not. So insulin is a glucose transport system, but it does a couple of other things. It encourages fat storage. It prohibits fat breakdown. So those things we need to know as well. How we get to insulin resistance. The food that we have, can we all agree that our food is imperfect? It's modified, it's manufactured, it's just not the same food as we had 50, 100 years ago. Look, genetically, we don't change as quickly as our food has changed. So now our bodies are just unclear of how to cope with this. One of the things that's been stripped out is fiber. Again, we're going to go over that later. But fiber slows down the delivery of this glucose into our system. We're devoid of fiber in our diets today, and yet we're eating more and more that's turning into glucose. And I'm going to say this is partly why people are seeing such benefit with carnivore, because now they've taken that problem and they've said, okay, well, we're just not having the glucose. But that's not sustainable for everybody. Not everybody's body is able to deal with those high amounts of carnivorous diet. I'm all about eating for your genes. There's a book called Eating Right for Your Body Type. There's one, Eating Right for Your Blood Type. There's also Gene Eating by Dr. Yao. So all of those things lead to the fact that we all do have a little bit different metabolic needs, okay, as far as how our nutrients come in. We all need nutrients though. Okay. Insulin resistance, we're eating too much, too often, that's turning into glucose too quickly in our bloodstream. We can only have about 1 teaspoon of glucose in our bloodstream before our body starts to panic, because it's like one doctor explained to me, it's like little glass shards in our bloodstream. It really starts to tear things up. So now our body says, hey, pancreas, one of our organs, produce this hormone called insulin. Now come out and take this glucose that this person has dumped in their body and deliver it to the cells. Glucose is not a bad thing, and insulin is not a bad thing. They're very vital parts of our system, right? The brain needs glucose. There's a couple of other places that really need glucose for energy. You can get glucose from meats, though, so to understand that, that's partly how this is working for them. But too much glucose relates to too much insulin in the system. And when we think about excess of anything, it starts to break down and go wrong. So now that's called hyperinsulinemia. And even a 4-hour spike in insulin can start to cause problems in your body, especially in your liver. So that hyperinsulinemia over a long period of time starts to become insulin resistant. Now you've trained your body to have high levels of insulin in response to the high levels of glucose that you're getting in unmediated, and now the cells start to shut down because they're inundated with insulin. Cells are taking up too much insulin, as in bringing the energy in. Some cells are just like, I can't do any more of you. So when this starts happening, your body's storing fat, because insulin has to deliver that energy, goes into your fat cells. Eventually your fat cells become insulin resistant. Your liver becomes insulin resistant. Now sugars are back out into your bloodstream. Now you have prediabetes and diabetes. It all starts with this insulin in the first place. Doctors are saying that almost all disease and disorder today is linked to insulin resistant, that's lifestyle related. So now we're gonna talk about the liver, because we just kind of, I hope everybody understands insulin resistance. Food that's turning to glucose too quickly, causing a need for insulin too often, that's shutting down the receptors in the body. They just don't want to take it anymore. Now, Houston, we have problems, okay? So I do intermittent fasting. There was somebody on a couple of days ago that said there's no studies, and you guys, I can't look. I'm 60 years old. I have a lot of information in my brain. If you know how the brain works, not everything stays in the frontal lobe all the time where I can just put up. But there was a 2011 study done showing that intermittent fasting does help with diabetes, insulin resistance, and helping your insulin levels get more control. Yeah, Ken Berry. Okay, he's not one I've dove into yet because yeah, there's so many out there. But I will write that one down because I'm always reading. You guys, I'm always reading stuff. So to learn, I do not profess to be some kind of guru, right? I'm learning and I'm passing on what I know as I learn it to all of you guys so that hopefully everybody else can understand it in a more digestible way. Yeah, I do miss Dr. Wells, Dr. Jason Fung, Dr. Ben Bickman, Dr. Yao, Dr. Lee, Dr. Pradeep. All of them I listen to, and they're just amazing. So Bickman does say red meats work well for diabetes. A lot of people are saying, no, don't do that. It's horrible. That's old science. Absolutely, for a lot of us, this red meats are really great. But again, Bickman is also not a carnivore diet type person. Neither is Jason Fung. So they're more of a middle of the road approach, and I love that approach for the rest of us, right? For the rest of us. So everybody, you find what works for you. All right. Insulin resistance. Now, the body's resistant to insulin. What we need to understand are that every place in the body, when it's inundated with insulin, starts to become insulin resistant. We've talked about how the brain becomes insulin resistant at the same time as the body does. Thank you. Yeah, we do need to get the word out to people, Lizzie Tish. You guys, I'm not doing really good at reading out her comments. She's saying she likes that she came across that, appreciates that we need to get the word out to peeps. So I'm on a couple different ones. All right, so our body also becomes resistant to insulin in the liver. The interesting thing with the liver is it's doing this huge job as we're eating, converting the food that we eat into so what happens with the liver is we get glucose coming in. It's taking that glucose and converting it into something called glycogen. Glycogen is molecules of glucose bound together, and it stores it. What it's storing it for is those days when we're fasting, historically when we didn't have food, so that it had energy to break down and release back into the system. So with insulin present, it's cueing the liver in normal amounts. Insulin is cueing the liver. The liver saying, okay, I'm going to take in a lot of this glucose that you're getting in. I'm going to store it as this glycogen, and we're going to hold on to it for energy stores for later. The liver does a lot of work for us, and it's likely one of the first places to become insulin resistant as we start to get sick. So when the liver is feeling like it's storing enough glycogen, it's going to store the rest of that inundation of glucose as fat. It's going to store it in itself. Now, the liver should only, it has too much fat when more than 5 to 10% of its weight, total weight, is fat. Now it's a fatty liver. Now it's having problems. So we have insulin all the time, what we've done is we've cued the liver to store so much glycogen that now it's converting a lot of this into fat and storing it as fat, a longer term storage of energy in the liver. Now we're starting to get fatty liver. So what happens with insulin is at some point the liver again is becoming insulin resistant. Now all of these cues are off. So instead of holding on to those glycogen stores and releasing them when we're fasting as energy, which is putting sugar back into the system, the liver starts breaking down that glycogen really rapidly, and now your blood sugars are going up, and it's not storing the glycogen. So again, your blood sugars are staying up, and insulin's like, what happened, liver? I thought you were my buddy. I thought you were taking all this. I thought we were working together. And the liver's like, I don't know. You're making me crazy. You're too over the top. I just can't do this job anymore. So now the liver is having problems. We're dumping more sugar into the bloodstream. Insulin is freaked out. Insulin keeps knocking on liver's door like, help, help, I need you to do this job. And liver's like, I'm trying to do my job, but you're like, I'm so confused right now. Basically, that's what's happening. So when we add to the fact that there's something else going on here, we're going to get to the gallbladder in a minute. When we have too much of all of this going on, the liver starts to get sick. When we have too much fat in the liver, it starts developing fibroids or scars in it. The long term of that fibroid and scarring can become cirrhosis. The long term of the cirrhosis can become liver failure. Okay? Not all of it starts with insulin resistance, but a good amount of it. So it's really important to take care of your liver. If you see your liver panels going up on your physicals, you got to understand you probably have an insulin problem. You need to look at your diet and you need to look at what's going on, and it's serious. Liver transplant is not a fun thing. This links into kidneys. I'll talk about that on another day. It's into all of these organs that we're having problems with. Gastroparesis, we're going to talk about that a little bit this morning because it links to the gallbladder. We're going to talk about some of those things. But now your liver is sick and it's not functioning well, and it's just dumping sugar back out into the bloodstream, and insulin is trying to deal with it, and you're packing on more pounds, and you're unable to do things that you want to do. Your brain function is down, your joints are hurting, all of these things are happening. Liver is extremely insulin resistant and it's getting sick. It's screaming for help. So we've got to get the insulin levels down. Now, when the insulin is sick, when the liver is sick, the gallbladder is also getting sick. So what the gallbladder does, this little packet right under here, you guys, is it's the sidekick to the liver. So the liver is producing bile to break down fats in the system. When we eat, and especially like I'm intermittent fasting and I'm eating large amounts of nutrients during a short window, I need that bile to help break down all of that food and the fats and transport it out to the body to be. The gallbladder stores some of that bile in a liquid form so that when we do eat, the liver's not overburdened trying to break all that down right away. So the gallbladder's like, okay, buddy, you continue making your bile. I'm going to hold on to some of this. So when this person eats, there's this bile that we can just push out, and it's the right amount at the right time. But what happens with insulin resistance is the gallbladder, two things. Well, let's take a look at the gallbladder first. It's storing bilirubin, old red blood cells. It's storing salt, it's storing water, and it's storing cholesterol. Okay, so those are the four things in the gallbladder. Now, bilirubin, excess bilirubin, has nothing to do with insulin, and that's part of gallbladder issues. So, not an expert in that. I'm not even going to talk about it. But for the gallbladder issues that are dealing with cholesterol, let's talk about that. So I talked yesterday about how insulin resistance creates a higher level of LDL, low density lipoprotein in the body. Some of that is going into the gallbladder, and too much of it in the gallbladder causes too much of that cholesterol in there. Not enough liquid, too much cholesterol. Now we start to have a sludge. That sludge eventually starts to become crystals. Now you have gallstones. So I hope all of this is making sense. I hope everybody's tracking. If you have questions, let me know. I'm here really because I want to address what you guys need to know. So that's way one, too much cholesterol, and it's not from the fats you eat. Would you guys, okay, wait. I want to ask a question. Wait, Misha, wait, stop. I'm a freight train sometimes. Okay, if you guys think that dietary fats are causing more of problems with the liver and the gallbladder, put a 1 in. If you and if you think that dietary fats are helping your gallbladder and your liver, put a 2 for me. So 1 if they're hurting, fats hurting your gallbladder and liver. 2 if they're helping your gallbladder and liver. Can I get a consensus and see what people think? Do you guys have any idea? And don't worry, because look it. I didn't know some of this stuff either until I started to know this stuff, right? That's why I'm here, to help out. After you had your baby 8 years ago and just know. Okay, so pregnancy and the liver, pregnancy and gallbladder is interesting. Sharon, when you're pregnant, you are more prone to being insulin resistant. You have more insulin coursing through your veins when you're pregnant. and it goes back to normal for most women after pregnancy. Breastfeeding really helps that. That's a whole other topic, but one of the reasons we see so much more insulin resistance in post-pregnancy women is because of the lack of breastfeeding. There's 6 times more insulin receptors in the breast tissue than in almost any other tissue. And there's a factor of when you're breastfeeding, it's helping reduce your insulin levels as that baby is growing. So now you can go back to normal. But insulin resistance is in higher occurrence during pregnancy for most women, goes back to normal, but after pregnancy, for some women, it stays high. Also, gallbladder issues. So when we're insulin resistant in pregnancy, and we have a poor diet, and we have all these other things that were pre-existing, nobody caught. Now we're having problems with the gallbladder during pregnancy. I can't tell you how many women have said they had to have gallbladder surgery when they were pregnant because they got so sick. I hope there's a link up there for you. So now the gallbladder, we talked about that. We were talking about fats. Interesting thing is fats help your gallbladder empty. Saturated fats, extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, butter, ghee, the animal fats, those are actually helping your gallbladder stay healthy and move more healthily, stronger. When we're eating the trans fats, when we're getting in some of those things that are causing inflammatory issues, those are the ones that are causing problems in the liver and the gallbladder, not saturated fats I named. They're actually helping. Dr. Bickman was talking in the reading that I was doing this morning about how people who are on very low calorie, very low fat diets have a higher instance of gallbladder problems than people who don't, because they're not getting in the fat the gallbladder needs to do its job. So cholesterol is different from dietary fat. Cholesterol, again, is the body cueing the liver to produce a very specific type of low density lipoprotein. The low density, or LDL, comes in 2 sizes, a big buoyant type, we talked about this yesterday, and a small dense. So the big buoyant type is type A, the small dense type is type B. In the presence of too much insulin, the liver is producing more type B LDL. Now that is, and your number improved. Sharon, are you on the system? Tell me what helped your number improve. So tell everybody what helped your number improve. So, all right, enough of that. The gallbladder now, when we're back to, I do want to hear your answer. I'm not saying enough of that. I'm just saying I'm going to keep talking. Can liver cod supplement help because you take that? So omega-3s, it can help. Yes, omega-3s can help. Okay. One of the other things with the gallbladder that's happening is, so there's too much cholesterol, not dietary, but converted cholesterol from the liver. But through insulin, your intestinal tract starts to freeze up. It doesn't work as well. The nerve signals aren't getting there. Your stomach isn't contracting. Now you have acid reflux because it's not getting rid of the acids. Your intestines aren't contracting. Food isn't moving through as much. Osteoporosis. Well, guess what? Those same actions are happening to that poor little gallbladder. It's starting to have nerve function problems. It's starting to have inflammation problems. It's starting to have problems squeezing as tightly and as often as it should, meaning it's not getting rid of the stuff in it. So now it's starting to form and sludge up and cause those gallstones. So 2 ways insulin resistance is causing the gallbladder problems: by the low density lipoprotein, that type B, causing too much of the harmful cholesterol in the gallbladder, and by the gallbladder not being able to empty at the rate that it's supposed to empty at. So now we have a liver and gallbladder problem. Now you're sick, now you have other issues going on. Happened to me 2 years ago, about 6 months after starting the system I talk about. I had to have my gallbladder removed. Now, let's quantify that, qualify that, whatever. That gallbladder being and having no stones, that didn't happen in 6 months. So let's clarify that. So that happened over years of time. It's just that I didn't learn about this until all of that damage was already done in my in my system, and then I started a protocol to help me. And so I'm on this big, you guys hear me talk about all these crazy things I do, and I was thinking about it this morning. We're still talking about liver, but I do some extensive things to help my health now that I know all the damage that's done. I am not the average person. I had almost everything on that list, and I was extremely sick 2 years ago. So knowing that all of that didn't just change overnight, I'm on a mission to help my health as I age. The average person isn't going to face the amount of issues that I face, because they're just not going to have as extensive of damage. So I'm doing excess stuff. The average person doing the 6 simple steps I'm going to talk about are going to help. The protocol is going to help. I will never be about the protocol that I do now, because it absolutely has changed a number of things in my life and helped almost everything get better. So I want to clarify, I do a lot of extra because my body had extra damage. All right, Leah says the stomach acid I talk about sounds exactly like what you're going through, but you have to use insulin as your type 1 diabetic. What can I do to help myself? That's an amazing question. So let's talk about that. So everybody that doesn't know, diabetic type 1, they cannot produce insulin. But Leah, you're going through the same thing as diabetic type 2 do, as in excess insulin. So we're going to get to the root cause. We're going to get to the cure for all of that. Not the cure. I hate to use that word. Sorry. We're going to get to a solution for that. And I'm not saying we can cure type 1 diabetes. So let's not get that confused. But we can help. I have a number of people, including some family members who are type 1 diabetic. The protocol I'm going to talk about helps them, and it hopefully can help you too. But let's look at it. So if you're not able to produce insulin and you're having to take insulin in response to the blood glucose coming in, right? You're still having this excess need for insulin because our food is imperfect and you're having to mediate that sugar more rapidly than we ever should have to do. So again, fiber is going to be key, especially for type 1 diabetics, in reducing how quickly the blood sugars go up in response to the food you eat. That reduction of sugar increase in your system is going to reduce the amount of insulin you have to take and bring it back down to a normal level. Insulin is not bad when it's in a managed level. Insulin is only damaging when it gets too high. So we want to make sure that whether you're type 1, type 2, MODY, whatever, we're managing the insulin levels. What Dr. Bickman says is that we want those insulin levels to be as low as they can be, as low as they need to be to manage what we're doing. So the lower we can get the insulin levels and still have the functions that insulin is doing, the better we are. More insulin is not better, okay? So, and interestingly enough, you guys, type 2 diabetics, when you're being given insulin, it's actually exacerbating the problem, because what you're doing, and this is according to doctors who know what they're talking about, what you're doing is you're adding more of the problem in. So it's not an analogy I've ever used, but I just came to mind. So like if you had a sink that was clogged and you have this clog and the water's not draining, would you add more stuff in to clog that up more and expect the water to flow properly? You wouldn't. And yet we're treating diabetes type 2 that way, and they're misunderstanding diabetes type 1 and not managing it, not educating people on how really to manage their type 1 diabetes. We're just adding more on top of that clog. Now the sink is overflowing. Now you're getting nasty water all over everything because it's just all over the floors and everywhere. Imagine that. Okay, that's what we're doing with most diabetes. So we're going to get to the solution, and I'll just start talking about it now. You guys, a bunch of things. We're going to talk about the 6 simple steps, and this is going to apply to you too, Leah. Even as type 1 diabetic, I want you to follow these steps, okay? To get yourself more insulin sensitive, meaning we're going to get the blood sugars down, meaning we're going to need less insulin in our body, whether we're producing it or whether it's coming exogenous. We want to get the need for insulin down. This is why I do some intermittent fasting. But let's talk about the dietary needs first. Fiber is key. Fiber is one of the things that's been stripped out of our food that helps actually slow down that sugar into our system. We need some glucose. Some cells in the body need glucose to function. I will get a video up from Dr. Bickman where he's talking about that. So it's not that we have an absolute absence of glucose. We need it. We just need it in proper amounts. But what's happening is our foods are too full of it, and the ones that we think are natural or better for us are converted too quickly. Fiber slows that down. Fiber is like a time release for the sugar and the lipids. Okay, so when it goes into your gut and it starts to digest, fiber encapsulating the right kinds of fiber, and it's slowing down that delivery. So instead of stuff going through your gut and automatically, boom, there goes this glucose dysregulation and the need for high amounts of insulin because it's just hitting your bloodstream like a freight train, fiber is slowing that down. So the lower sugar spike, the lower the insulin spike, the lower the need for exogenous insulin, and now you're starting to manage it. So fiber first before you eat, every time you eat. Now I'm in a group and they're utilizing the system that I talk about, but I don't feel like most of them are using it properly. They're using it as a meal replacement on the days they fast to help themselves feel full. I'm good with that. There's a number of reasons why that works. But more importantly, the fiber that I use, which I'll talk about in a second, comes like this. And I drink it 10 minutes before I eat, every time I eat, to slow down the delivery of sugar into my system. So is it the amount of sugar? In part, yes. But is it the conversion of sugar to help get the insulin level down that I'm talking about? Yes. So we're going to talk about that. Let me get through these 6 things native, Jay, and I'm going to address that. So fiber first before you eat, every time you eat. Prioritize protein, whether you're vegan or carnivore. Your body needs protein, your muscles need protein, and guess what? All of your organs, your liver, your heart, your kidneys, they're all muscle tissue. You need protein for a healthy body all around. Hormones are proteins. We need protein. So fiber first, prioritize protein for me because my ideal weight is about 165, 170. I need to get in about that amount of grams of protein a day. 1 pound of body weight, desired body weight, equals 1 gram of protein. I'm struggling to get in 150 grams a day, but that's far better than the 60 or 70 I was getting. Fiber first, protein, fill with healthy fats. So protein needs fats. I haven't talked about it in a while. I can talk about that again in a minute. Those are the first 3 things you should be focusing on when you eat. Fiber, protein, and fats. FPF, okay? In that order. Protein and then fats. Then you're going to limit your carbs. Okay, limit them. I'm not saying you have to get rid of them. There's some problems when you limit all carbs because you're training your body not to do that. It's a whole other topic. You want me to talk about that, I will, but limit your carbs. Then step 5 is, and Leah, you want to do some intermittent fasting. What's happening with intermittent fasting is that we're allowing our body to switch from utilizing glucose to utilizing fat for fuel. Yes, type 1 diabetics can do this. You need to be a little more careful, but sorry, we need to do some intermittent fasting. Well, all intermittent fasting is getting insulin levels in our body because we've stopped putting the glucose in our body. We've stopped creating the need for our body to live on sugar for energy. So we're getting the insulin levels down. When insulin goes down, the other hormone glucagon, which is its opposite side, can come out. Now, glucagon allows you to burn fat for fuel. Glucagon allows HGH to come out. It allows ketones to come out. It allows your gut to start to reset. All of these really great things start happening when you get the insulin levels down, which does mean limit your carbs and stop eating all the time. Stop all the snacking. Snacking is just constantly spiking your insulin. So eating every 2 hours, you just have a constant spike of insulin, and that's not what you want. Okay, so those are I forgot the sixth thing. Move your body. Take a walk. A lot of people have talked about walking. I've talked about walking. It's as simple as that. Take a walk. Better yet, put some weight-bearing exercise in. You guys, we're losing muscle mass as we're insulin resistant. And then as we lose muscle mass, as we're getting older, it's harder to regain that muscle mass. So never stop moving, never stop lifting, putting your body under a little bit of stress so that you can stay healthier with more lean mass as you age. Okay. So those are the 6 simple steps. You guys, if you go to my profile at the top link up here, go to that, tap on that. There's going to be a white box come up below. I will put the link in over here on Facebook. But in that, there's going to be my 6 simple steps to managing your insulin. It's free to you guys. Look, I give a lot of free information away because I really do care and want you guys to get better. So that's free information for you. Go get it, read it. Those are the 6 simple steps. Those are based on things that Dr. Bickman, Dr. Fung, all these doctors that I talk about have talked about. So get that if you need to read it. Follow that protocol. 6 simple steps. Start changing your life. Now, what I did in addition to that was I added in 2 real food products that helped me manage my insulin resistance. So we're going to talk about that. It's also found in my profile. I do a tea in the morning. Usually you see me drinking it hot, but I was up early. So I already finished my hot tea. I'm drinking a cold tea now, and I will drink some water. Do I have other drinks from time to time? Yeah, because I'm human. I'm not perfect. That's why I love the system. But it's a tea in the morning. I can go over the why the tea. If you go to my playlist on TikTok, there's a tab called the tea, and you're going to start finding more and more information in there about the tea, the benefits of it, the components of it. You can understand why it's so important to this protocol. It doesn't break a fast. It helps you kick out ketones. It's helping with mental clarity and energy. It's helping with energy throughout the body. It's helping shut down your hunger through a number of pathways that act like those GLP-1 drugs without all the damaging side effects. It does a wonderful job. So I stay full, feel full, even in a fasted state. When I go through 48 hours of fast, the tea is what helped me through that. So the tea is helping with fat burning. It's helping with energy. It's helping with mental clarity, antioxidant, anti-cancer properties, anti-inflammatory properties in that. Then when I do eat, which right now my 8-hour eating window is going to start right after this live. So I will have a fiber or a pre-meal packet. It has 7 different types of fiber, phytosterols, and vitamins and minerals that are aimed at helping metabolism. That packet, when I drink it 10 minutes before, forms a thick gel matrix in my gut, slowing down those blood sugar in your system. This is how it's working for type 1 diabetics, Leah. So what we're doing is we're slowing down those blood sugars from spiking so that you're not having to take as much insulin and in as big a doses. And now you're not having those effects of insulin resistance like you would in the high doses of injected or pumped insulin. So there's that. The fiber also helps me feel full before I eat. If I drink it 10 minutes before, when it hits the gut enzymes, it's going to start to thicken up and it's going to expand. So now I want to eat less when I do eat because it's the delivery of those nutrients into the system. Like I said, it's kind of like a time release. It's helping me stay fuller longer so that I don't have to feel as hungry right away again. So that's how the system works. Now, there's a couple of guarantees with it, and then we're going to go back to talking about all the other stuff. But there's a 90-day money-back guarantee. It will help reduce your A1C, your blood glucose, and your lipid levels in 90 days to do it properly. And if those things don't happen, you get your money back. But because it's been working so well, they've now made that a 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Guys, do it for 90 days. It's real food products. It's building health in a number of ways that I cannot talk about all in 1 hour. but it's helping with the blood glucose levels. It's helping with the gut microbiome. It's helping with your mental clarity. It's helping with so many things. Do it for 90 days. You didn't get sick in 1 week. Don't expect to get better in 1 week. Solution. It is in my link tree. The system is the very top option in my link tree. There's a number of other things, you guys, links to my other social media if you don't want to hang out on TikTok all the time. If you like other sources better, that's all in there. The recommendations, including the books that I keep referring to. 2 of them are The Obesity Code by Dr. Fung and Why We Get Sick by Dr. Bickman. They're there on my recommendations page. The bile salts I use, we haven't even got that yet. Yeah, get to work, Jay, and look at follow me, watch the videos, and guys, on actually on that link tree page, you'll also find a WhatsApp link. Use it. Text me. Say, hey, Misha, I saw you on live. I have some questions. Can you talk to me? I'm not salesy, you guys. I am not a salesy person. Look, I'm here to help. Does the system help? Do I benefit from you guys buying the system? Yes. But I am not going to pressure anyone. So if you just need questions answered and if you want this is right for you, then message me. So, and we have locations throughout the world. So I have people across the world. It doesn't matter where you're at. There's a location that's nearer you probably than the US. So this is not shipping from the US and taking 3 weeks to get to you, okay? So guarantees, 90-day money back guarantee, low price guarantee, quality guarantee, plus you get me coaching when you use that link. If you go to Amazon, eBay, Walmart, you get none of the guarantees because they're not authorized. Pirated, expired products are there, and most people, when they've called me and said, hey, I bought it, and then we find out they bought it on Amazon, and then we find out they spent like $100 more than they needed to, and they're not getting any of the guarantees. So please just use an authorized rep to get your system, whether it's me or someone else. Okay, now back to the health stuff. That's the solution, guys. It's simple. A tea in the morning, a pre-meal drink before I eat anything. My son's birthday is today. Can we talk about this real quick? I mean, I don't want to get back to the liver, but my son's birthday is today, and I forgot to text him up. I was going to do it this morning, but it was kind of early. My beautiful son, my amazing son, I'm so proud of that man. But today's his birthday. So we've devised a way to play games because we were a big board game family. He and I are in Maryland. My daughter and my other 3 grandkids are in Washington. So there's this game we love to play. We call it a game. I don't know. It's this competitive and strategic kind of luck game that we all love. And I was like, hey, why don't we go live or why don't we use FaceTime, and I can set the camera up and my daughter can play and we can play and we can do a family thing together. And we've been doing that for about the last month since he got the game for Christmas. And it's really enriched our family. So the one wish he had today was to play the train game. So I shut down early today. I'm going to go hang out with my son. I'm going to play the train game with him. But being his birthday, his making him an amazing meal. We have cupcakes. My grandson is going to want to have cupcakes with his daddy for his birthday. Do I have to sit out on all of that? No, I don't. Do I do it time? No, I don't. Am I going to have a cupcake with my grandson and my son today? Yes, I am. I'm just going to have one of these before I do to help bring that glucose spike. I'm going to go right on fasting. It makes my life simple. Do I have this? Is in those of you on the carnivore diet that it's working for, hallelujah. I'm happy for you. I'm the type of person that can just have red meat all day, every day, and sit through all of these occasions and not just be a real person having a real life. And I don't want that for anyone else either. So I want to get back to the liver now. If you guys have questions, comments, let me know. One thing I haven't talked about this before I'm all done with the liver. We see more non-alcoholic fatty liver now than ever in history. It used to be that alcoholics were the only ones that we really saw with fatty liver disease, right? So there is a negative gut bacteria that can convert glucose too quickly and ferment it and make it act like alcohol. It has nothing to do with the person's diet or insulin resistance, but there's that very small. But negative gut bacteria, this is part of the reason why fiber first is helping feed your positive gut bacteria. It's prebiotics. It's feeding those good gut bacteria. Now, for the rest of us, when we're seeing alcoholic fatty liver, and more concerning, in recent years, we're seeing more non-alcoholic fatty liver in children as young as 6 years old. Does anybody know what the biggest cause of all this non-alcoholic fatty liver is? If you do, type it in. Let me know. Nobody else know, or I mean, I'll be telling you in a second. But one thing that they link to all of this non-alcoholic liver disease to, and it's why it's so prevalent with our children. There's one thing that we're doing that we think is healthy that's causing non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and causing. Remember, when a child has alcoholic fatty liver disease, they're now at risk for having cirrhosis of the liver, and then cirrhosis, and then other things happen, and now they're at risk for liver replacement failure. Okay, we don't want that for. So that girl, not sure why it hit that. You're saying processed food in children's Tylenol. Tylenol actually is not one of the things I was going to go to, but yeah, the overuse of Tylenol, you guys, is causing dysbiosis. It's causing a lot of microbiome problems, inflammation that cause more insulin resistance. But we're going to talk about processed food because there's one type of processed food that's causing more of this, even when somebody says, oh, you don't have to worry about it, it's organic. It's causing non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So the two things that only the liver can process are your alcohol and fructose. Fructose. We know where fructose comes from. Comes from our fruits. Now, am I saying you can't eat fruit? Absolutely not. But there's a certain form of it that's causing the problem. Remember I talked about fiber and how in slowing down the liver sugar into the system. Our teeth is about half glucose, half fructose, because it is a fruit, right? But fructose is causing the problem. The food, all right, Nisha, the food is fruit juice. Fruit juice is fructose, sugar, energy that's from the fiber that slows it down. So when kids are drinking high amounts of fruit juice or any amount of fruit juice, they're getting this high impact of fructose and glucose liver in like what I like to call a freight train. So it's just coming in and bam, here you go, liver. And the liver's panicking and trying to deal with that. And now it's not converting glycogen and it's storing fat. And now you end up with fatty liver and you end up with the fibrosis and the cirrhosis. And okay. Fructose, unmediated from fiber, is causing this problem. Fruit juice. So I tell my grandkids, when I started the system, they still had orange juice and whatnot. Now we all understand what the problem is, so we're not having those fruit juices anymore. No more. So we go to my family's houses, you will not find fruit juice in houses. You find fruit, oranges, apples, pears, berries. Yeah, you will. Because I'm not saying have fruit. I'm saying your fruit, your fructose has fiber on it to slow down the delivery of that. Fruits have some amazing properties. When I travel and I see families and they're going to acai places and they're having a bowl of fruit and then they're having fruit juice on top of it, I feel bad. Those parents aren't ready to hear it, but that child is at risk for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and that's how it's happening. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease also comes along with you're probably going to get it as well. So just be just, you know what Dr. Bickman says in conclusion in his liver portion in the book is, if you want to have fruit, eat your fruit, don't drink your fruit. So let's talk about that. I don't know how. I don't know how to say your name. So she said, how about 100% apple juice, no sugar added? So here again, apple juice is high in fructose. It's not the sugar that's causing the fatty liver disease. It's fructose that's causing the fatty liver disease. So raw apple juice with no sugar added, raw orange juice, no sugar added, raw grapefruit juice, no sugar added. They're all high in fructose. It's going directly to your liver when it's unwrapped fiber. So yeah, no raw apple juice. Wine juice, that's a fruit juice. Yes, right? Skin, but it's not just the skin. The meat of the fruits have fiber in them too. Most often the skin has a higher amount of fiber, right? You're correct. The meat of the fruit has fiber. So when you've ever had, because I did Jacqueline thing, I did the juicing thing for a long time. Well, what you're really doing is you're taking the fiber out. If you look at what's left when you juice a vegetable fruit, is fiber. So I'm not a big proponent of juices because, again, you're stripping fiber away. We already have it stripped away in a way that have been modified and grown now. They have less fiber in them than ever. The manufactured foods have less fiber in them. Why we continue to strip fibers from our foods? So that's where I'm at on it. Just eat whole foods. If you want to drink, teas are great, water is great. So do that. But understand that those fruit juices are causing non-alcoholic fatty liver in children because it has to be processed through the liver. And again, when the liver stops converting it into glycogen for stored quick energy, it starts storing it as fat. Now, more than 10 body weight of liver as fat, you have fatty. You're starting to have all these other problems. So ditch the fruit juice, eat the fruit. Okay. There was something else I was going to say in relation to all of that before we're done today. Oh, that was it. They did do a study where they gave a control group. One part of the control got the same amount of calories and glucose as another control group was getting fructose, so juice. Okay. At the end of the study, both groups in face of this liquid glucose or liquid sugar in a form of glucose or gained about the same amount of weight. The interesting thing was where they gained it more in the subcutaneous fat, the white jiggly fat that's all over the body, that's not very pretty, but it's not extremely damaging. The fructose group had more fat in and around the muscle wall of the belly, the neck, the tongue, called the visceral. It can be in excess. It's choking off the organs. It's causing a number of problems. So fructose was not only causing problems with the liver, it was causing more storage of visceral fat, which is damaging fat. Okay, so fructose, you guys, that's just one thing. Don't drink your fruit, eat your fruit. Okay, I know it's tempting because you're like, ooh, I can get on all these vitamins and minerals, and it sounds so healthy because it comes from a real food and all of this stuff. So I'm just going to drink juice and hey, I did something healthy for my body today. No, eat the apple. And if you look at the amount of fructose in one apple, it has to digest. When you masticate, when you eat, there's enzymes that are crucial for you, your digestive system. That's removed when you drink fruit juice. Okay, so eat apple. It's going to slow down the amount of sugar you get in. You're getting that good fiber. That's giving the biome a chance to get healthier and risk for non-alcoholic fatty liver. Now, if you eat a bushel of apples a day, that might change, right? Okay. Any other questions, you guys, before I hop off? We've been talking about the liver, the gallbladder in relation to insulin resistance. There's a number of things up here. If anybody wants me to talk about any of those on Monday when I come back, I would love to know what you want to talk about, because I want this to be what you guys need. We did heart disease. I can do that. That's my favorite. I would do a day if you're. But I mean, somebody said PCOS yesterday. Do we want to talk about issues with the depression, anxiety, Alzheimer's, how it links to even things like autism and Parkinson's? So brain issues. We want to talk about PCOS and erectile function. What is it you want to talk about on Monday when I come back? Do you guys have a preference? Is there anything that you really need to hear? Anything? Sleep apnea, neuropathy, any of the things on the list up there. And by the way, with we can talk about vertigo. Just let me know what it is you need to hear, and I want to bring you. So I hope this talk about liver and the gallbladder and what's going on in relation to insulin resistance has helped. Even look at, if I spend all morning and it helps even one person from having to go to liver disease, is blessed. Okay, so please ask questions. Please let me know. Okay, I am, then if there are no questions, I'm going to pick a topic, and I think I'll go with PCO and metabolic infertility, because there was a lot of interest in that yesterday, and we'll come back and talk about that Monday. So I'm usually live between 8 and 8:30. I try to get on at 8, but it doesn't often happen. So share this out with people that you know. I will kind of, and if you know anyone who's suffering from these things or insulin resistance in general, diabetes, prediabetes, who might need to hear this to understand how they can help themselves get better, share it. I can get that information too. Maham, yes. So the question is, does insulin resistance cause neurological issues? Absolutely, it does. So you weren't here in what the brain becomes resistant to insulin at the same time the body does. The interesting thing is it impedes the fight of your neurons. It breaks neural pathways, so they're just not communicating as well. It means that you're not getting energy into your brain because those receptors are shutting down. So now you're not getting the energy to your brain you need. Brain depression, anxiety. Neurons aren't firing. Instead of firing from pathway to pathway, they're kind of firing outside the pathway. Vertigo, exacerbated autism, and Alzheimer's all happen because of insulin resistance. Insulin resistance causes autism. Does insulin resistance cause Parkinson's? I can make that. Are there studies that show it exacerbates it? Absolutely. I have a woman who had Meniere's disease. She struggled. I finally convinced her to try the system, and she no longer has symptoms of Meniere's disease. I have a woman who in Texas, beautiful woman that I love so dearly, but she was having tremors. What was going on? I got her to start drinking the tea. Her tremors calmed down and went away. So there are a number of things, and if that's what you want me to talk about is neurological disorders on Monday, I'm more than happy to go into depth and explain in depth how all it works. I'm happy to do that. So, but yes. So Jocelyn's of excluding skin tags, melasma, edema, and kidney liver disorder. Never diagnosed. You know what? I'm the one, you guys, I'm the one, because I worked in medical, I'm the one who caught my liver problems on my labs. My doctors were so focused on my heart rate and diabetes that nobody was looking at that liver problems were way back and that I was problems. I saw it and said, hey, why aren't we addressing this? Why have we never talked about this? And they said, because we're so worried that you're going to die from this high heart rate and the diabetes that we just weren't paying attention to that. And then 4 months later, I lost my gallbladder because my liver had been sick for so long. So, yeah, all of things lead in, and we can talk about all of them. Why don't I will, okay, let's narrow PCOS or neurological disorders on Monday. Maham, so I'm autistic, diagnosed as an adult, and ADHD. They go along, right? What I will tell you is that autism is much better managed when my insulin levels are under control. Depression, look, I used to lay awake at night when my kids were gone because I'm divorced. So I would hold it together. Like autistics, we do this. We hold it together. We manage. We look around the rest of the world like, okay, this reacts. This is what I say. This is what I do. We're masking all the time. So I was masking, and then the minute my kids were at their dad's house, I am bawling my eyes out in tears. Like I'm just done with. I'm depressed. I'm frustrated. I can't put thoughts together. My butt hurts, and I begged God to make me just never wake up. That's how bad it was. Okay, so all of that's so things. Seeing my insulin under control. I'm going to tell you this is off track, but getting the diagnosis of autism was really hard. This last year has been hard. You would freeing, and in a way it is, but there's a realization that comes when you're autistic and you feel like you're wrong and you just do things right in your life. And I don't cry, but and all the people who picked on me when my brain just doesn't work like theirs does, all of that, sorting through all of that can be really difficult, so be ready for that. But there are a number of creators, I'm not the one, but there are a number of creators on YouTube and on TikTok with autism and ADHD and help cope with that realization, especially as an adult diagnosed. So, and there's a lot of resources for you to be able to get tested to figure it out. But understanding that it's just that your brain works differently is extremely freeing. Then understanding how insulin resistance is creating that, like with sensitivities to sound, to light, to noise. I don't deal well in big crowds. I get so overwhelmed, it feels like a hurricane in my head. That feeling calms down, my insulin is control. So that's just a snippet, but I hope that any of this information helps you. Wouldn't I be discriminated if I have an autism diagnosis? I never really thought about it that way. Yeah, I think I maybe I did, because I think that there's a worry of people not believing, because I feel like I'm so I've masked so long and become so functional that people don't understand the struggle with, and it's real. But there are who are adult diagnosed autistics who are just high functioning. And you know what I've come to realize, Maham? My understanding of how my brain functions and how to make that work for me in the world means more to me than anyone else's judgment of me. So when I see people, like I have a great friend, she's a nurse, she's on here too, Steph 1111. She's not autistic. And so I watch her and I'm just like, how is she so free in social interactions, and how does she do all this stuff? And you know what? She and I have talked, and it's just my brain works differently. So I found the strengths that work for me that make me extremely unique, and what I want for you. You don't have to be like anybody else. And if you're autistic, and especially if you're high functioning autistic, that can be a huge gift for you. Is there a reason why I spend so much time reading all of these books and doing all of this research? Autism, right? The people who don't do that, who are because they can't read and do all that. Yeah, do I have a gift that they don't have? Do they have gifts that I don't have? Yes. You're unique. Lean into what it is that's good for you. Don't be afraid of it. If you get that diagnosis, just give yourself some grace in understanding that you'll have an adjustment period. You can't adopt children and find a way to get rid of you. I don't know if that's. I've been, in fact, the CEO of the company that I work for, by the way, you guys, the solution, as I'm talking to Maham, what helped me with my autism, among all things, is in my profile. Just those red lights in my profile, right under that is a link. The system that I've used in the last 2.5 years, all of this under control is there. Now, I went to our CEO. I think there may be a misnomer about that. You probably have been around people who ask whatnot. I don't know that you can adopt children if you're high functioning autistic. This is going to be inflammatory to some people, but if gay people adopt, why is it that if you're high functioning autistic, you just have brilliance in a different way that you can't adopt children? I don't know where you live. I don't know what country rules are. It doesn't make sense to me that that would be true. My employer, our CEO, I talked to him about it. Also, Elon Musk, high functioning autistic. Do you think that he, like, I know that people are divided on Elon. Part of Elon's, like, speak so direct. That's his audience. We do that, not meaning to be mean, not meaning, it's just like it's truth in our head, so we speak it. And I have problems with this in my own life. People take it as me being mean, and I'm not. I'm just saying my truth. But he's brilliant and he's successful. Our CEO, when I talked to him about it, he said, no, you're just different. I want you to lean into what makes you special and build on that. And that's what I'm going to invite for you to do, Maham. Okay? So, all right, we went off of liver into autism. I would love to. I did have somebody say PCOS. So how about this? On the docket next week, we're going to do PCOS on Monday, because this is not the first time I've been asked for that. Into neurological disorders and how insulin is related to them, because there's information in both of those things. And then invite people in my to hear it. Okay. Then, as usual, I will answer questions about anything else that's going on. It doesn't mean that it's exclusive, but if you have family members, people that you want to help and you want to just learn, hop in and let's do this thing. All right, you guys, you all have hung out with me for over an hour, and I really, really appreciate it. So I've been on for almost an hour and a half. And is there any more questions before I hop off? Would insulin resistance make the sclera of your eyes less white? That's not a question I've ever had. I don't know how to say your name, coach. But here's the thing. I will go look. I will check with the doctors that are trusted by me, their work and whatnot, and see if I can find any link. One thing, let me write it down. Now, usually what I do, reinvention coach, is if somebody has a question like that, let me write your name down too, is I'll try to do a video on it. If I can remember your name, which I just wrote it down, I will try to tag you in that so you can get that answer without sitting through all the lives. I love that you're on the live and I want to serve you, but here's my promise to you too. I am not going to come on here and say stuff that I don't know and haven't looked up. So if I don't know, I'm going to admit it. And if I need to look up and refresh, I'm going to admit that. I'm just a woman like the rest of you guys. I just got better and I want to help other people get better too. So what I do want you to understand is this before I would talk all day if you guys, but I do have to get some stuff done. The more they learn about insulin resistance, the more they dive into looking at, does insulin resistance link to this or that, the more they're finding the answers yes. So I have a friend who has muscular dystrophy type 1. I kept recommending the system and they kept saying no. And so then I finally did some research, and about 30% at current science, which is to look into all of these links, says that 30% of MD1 people are insulin resistant and it's causing disorder. Ankylosing spondylitis. I have a friend who had it, who got better system. I have a friend who's also a friend now, who had it and recently told me within the last week that she went to her doctor and they're saying it's gone. They don't know whether it's in remission, whether it's just gone. They don't know how it happened. The only thing she changed was doing the system that I talk about. So as they look at the between all of these other issues that we have, they're finding links in most of them. So would I ever rule out a link, whether it's, I'm not going to say that it causes things. In some cases, we know that it causes diabetes. We know that it causes prediabetes. We know that it can cause a number of things that are common. But I'm going to tell you that they're finding links, like muscular dystrophy type 1. Is insulin resistance the cause of it? No. But does the dysfunction with insulin resistance cause an exacerbation of it? Muscle loss that goes along with MD1 is worsened with insulin resistance. So yeah, links across the board. I'm going to look into try to tag you in. Okay. All right. So enough of that. Any other questions before I hop off? You guys have questions, not only in the link tree that's linked up here. I forgot to put it in the Facebook. I've got that in now. But it's more than just a place to buy stuff. Yes, I have like the system. Oh, and we have a great protein. By the way, our protein is extremely easy to metabolize, and it's what I use in my protein shakes. It's on sale right now for $59 through the end of the month. I will try to get that link up, but I'm doing a cleanse. All of those things I use from time to time, all of those are in there. But there's also a website that talks about the insulin resistance and the protocol that I use to reverse my diabetes and reverse my hypertension. So more than just buying it, there's a lot of information in there why this system is working and the science behind it. It's not just a marketing company saying, oh, do this. There's science. We have a team of scientists work on this stuff, and we actually in the last year made a shift from doing all these natural solutions to focusing specifically on metabolism, which means insulin resistance. So narrowing down everything that we do to make sure that what we're doing is affecting people's metabolism, because it's linked to almost everything that we have going on in our lives today. That's a disorder that's lifestyle related. So go to the website, check it out. There's some success stories there. There's success stories on my TikTok here, and reach out to me. You guys, don't be afraid. I'm not gonna like be salesy. If you have questions for me, ask me. I will try to answer them. If I know, I'll go find out. And then that, you guys, head out and go get what I got to do for this turns 31. 31. Holy cats, how did he? I'm so, like, I'm going to pause too. I am so proud of him. I got to go text him and say happy birthday, because he's an amazing, amazing young man. All right, we'll talk to you all later. Thank you. Wait. So, a comment at the end that I'm like, ooh, I can't pass that one up. We are being poisoned by the pharmaceuticals. Greg, I'm going to agree with that statement. It's interesting. I was trying to get a way to get these lives saved and put back up so you guys can see them. They are on YouTube without all the comments, but they are on YouTube. So you can go watch any of the lives there. But TikTok right now is not allowing me to put stuff up, and it's in large because I talked so much about how we've been lied to, how big pharma and big food are in cahoots, and it's causing us problems. So let's end with that. Understand that all of our food, whether you're eating or whether you're eating, has been modified, changed It's been stripped of nutrients, enzymes, and fiber that are helping us stay healthy. Now, what the link is, there's 10 big companies that own almost all of the food that we eat. Regardless of the label, there's 10 companies at the top of that. So regardless of the label, there's a different company at the top of that. Guess what? The families who own those are linked to families who own the biggest pharmaceutical companies. So if the food companies are trying to feed you and get you to eat more food by stripping out fiber and nutrients that keep you full and keep you satiated, and telling you lies that fat's bad for you because it keeps you satiated, then when you're sick, where do you go? Either family or you get the pharmaceuticals. Let's talk about pharmaceuticals before I hop. It's inflammatory, but I'll say it. So even doctors will tell you that medications are just masking symptom. They're not addressing the root cause. So my favorite analogy lately is this. If you break your leg, do you want someone to just hand you a so you can walk, the leg is still broken, or do you want to have somebody cast that leg, put it back together, let it heal so that you can actually walk on the leg without a crutch? So what pharmaceuticals are doing in most cases, there are some cases we need them, not going to deny that, but in most cases they're giving a crutch. They're not fixing the problem, they're just masking it by saying, hey, you can walk, we're going to do this. I choose to try and replace that leg, fix it, reset it to as much as I can so that I can walk on the leg again. That's the route I go. I don't want that crutch. That's what pharmaceuticals are doing for you, in my opinion. In my opinion, okay? It's median, right? So another thing is, if insulin resistance is dietary disorder, lifestyle related, you cannot fix that with a medication. You're not deficient in a medication. It's not that you had not enough of a medication that's making you sick. So the reason so many people are failing with their health and their diet because they just don't have enough time to educate. I spent over an hour this morning talking merely about the liver and the bladder. They don't have time to spend with every patient. So they're going to go, oh, here's a medication. By the way, there's more and more proof. If you follow Dr. Bickman, especially on Twitter, he talks about it, but he did a post, I think last week, talking about how statin drugs are actually causing more cholesterol problems and more insulin resistance than they're helping. So consideration, if you're on a statin drug, I'm not telling you to get off, but I'm telling you to do some looking, do some questioning, and figure out what you really want to do. Okay, so Bickman, by the way, is Bikman. If you want to look him up, he's one of the top metabolic scientists in the world, and insulin resistance is his specialty. So check it out. Almost everything I talk about comes from doctors. I'm very careful about that. So Tina, if you have almost every one of those things listed, I'm putting things in playlists on my TikTok. Go look at the playlist after this live and start watching the videos in there to see the link ups between some of these things. And I come live Monday through Friday to do them. But here's the thing, and I haven't talked about that. How to tell if you're insulin resistant. If you have almost every one of those things listed above, I'm going to say that you're more than 80% likely that you're insulin resistant. Start insulin resistant, things will all get better. I had almost every one of those on the list above too. I had high blood pressure, I had sleep apnea, I had my autism and my ADHD were out of control. I was starting to have symptoms of autism, of Alzheimer's. I had joint pain. I had gut, bleeding teeth and gut. I was losing my eyesight, losing my hair. Like I had excess fat everywhere. My visceral fat was out of control. My liver was failing. I lost my gallbladder. My joints were all failing. Okay, I had edema, neuropathy. You guys, I can't even. It's hard to believe the person that I was. I couldn't go up and down stairs without handrails because it was painful. Now I carry bags up and down stairs, handrails, no problem. All I did was change the fact that I was focused on getting my insulin resistance under control. Join me any day around 8:30 live to talk about all this and answer your questions. Watch the playlists and then message me if you have more questions. I would love to help you understand what's going on. Okay. Christina, you guys are headed out now. I said it times. Good morning. As usual on Fridays, I'm going to remind you guys of something, okay? These phones, yeah, and I get it. I too. I look at a lot of, like, I canceled Netflix and Disney, because I watch even podcasts and stuff way more than I do anything else. But put it down. I go spend this afternoon with my son. My phone, outside of being on FaceTime to play game family across the nation, is going to off. My grandson is here, and there's an alarm that goes off on my phone that says it's Kenny Day, meaning we're done. Unless it's interactive with him, shut it down. We need that time. And part of insulin resistance is stress. When your cortisol levels are high, you're going to be more likely to be insulin resistant. Tap into your life, get off the electronics, and just spend some good time for your health and your family weekend. I'll see you on Monday, okay? Good one, guys. Okay, now over here, I forgot to put that link in, so let's get that in. Oh, and then I'm going to hop off, but I want to make sure that that's in stream so that people can find it later. There we go. Okay, you guys, I appreciate you joining me this morning. We'll talk Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your families, your friends, your life this weekend. And again, we'll see you Monday.